Another View from the West coaching conversation, this time joined by Josh Jostes, the head coach of the Maroa-Forsyth Trojans. They will be in the 2A state championship game going up against the Wilmington Wildcats. So, Coach, 2 years in a row that we've jumped on and talked. That's a good thing. That means you're playing that last week of the season.
That is a good thing. That is a good thing.
Yeah. Well, Coach, we talked to head coach Rick Aaron from Lena Winslow earlier, and, it's a similar question I have for you. Take me back 361 days ago when we were together. We were listening to your press conference after the game at Hancock Stadium. What did you take away from that day, and what was the message to your players? What was the kind of the group mentality moving into the offseason and into this season?
Well, obviously we did not play well that day and didn't finish the way we wanted to. We were a little beat up. Our quarterback had played in that game with a broken collarbone. It just things didn't go well, and Chicago Christian took advantage of a lot of that and whipped us pretty good. So we regrouped and jumped back into the weight room, and our kids wanted to finish with another shot, which they were able to put themselves in that position.
Hey, Coach, this is your 10th time as Maroa-Forsyth head coach that you'll be going to the state championship weekend. I'm curious, just over your years, if you can think back, maybe it was either the first time you win or just early in your coaching career. Has there been something that's stuck in your mind? Maybe it's a piece of advice or something that you still try and coach every single year that you learned early in your career?
Been very blessed to have had a lot of great runs and a lot of great kids and families that have went through the program. After a while, I would tell you, I got to the point where I thought we were putting a lot of pressure on ourselves that if we didn't win it or we didn't win every game, the sky was falling. And we have put an emphasis probably over the last 10 years to enjoy the run, enjoy each team, enjoy each win, because wins are hard to come by, and regardless of what stage in the season you're at, and you should celebrate them always. We kind of instituted a 24-hour rule, didn't worry about the last game for 24 hours, whether it was a win or a loss, and that has stuck with me.
Yeah. Well, Coach, that's kind of a great segue into the question. When you lose back-to-back games in weeks 8 and 9 this season, weeks 7 and 8, and week 9 looked a little dicey there for a little while too, with a team that had a lot of expectation this year, and you get into that stretch, maybe especially into that game in week 9, what was kind of the mindset? Were you looking around at each other? What was the thought amongst the team, and how did you kind of work your way through it and know that there's a lot of talent here, we're going to be just fine?
I honestly don't think our confidence wavered. Obviously, in week 7 and 8, we gave up 1,000,000 yards rushing, and our focus was to get back to being physical and fast and tackling. And we instituted some more tackling into our practices, in just an area where we felt like we had kind of became lax at. We were missing a few kids at that point also, so we were playing some kids out of position. And in that week 9 game, I actually, even in the first half, thought we were doing a really nice job of kids being physical and flying to the ball. All of the yards were the quarterback pulling a ball off a play that was designed to go the other direction. And because I had preached about being physical and getting to the football, I had put our kids in a bad position so they were flying to the football, and we were stuffing the play on the front side, which is what we wanted to do. And their quarterback was super athletic and made some nice reads and pulled and came out the backside. So honestly, most of the yards were that. In the second half, we were able to just do your job, and then fly to the football where we know it's been handed off. And we were able to get some turnovers. We got our offense going, and, have not really looked back since.
Coach Ryan Shepard, Zach Smith, Isaiah Bowman, your 3 seniors that all got all-state accolades this year. I don't know how much they've played in their 4 years at Maroa-Forsyth, but this is a program that's got 47 wins in those 4 seasons. What's the senior group as a whole meant to this program?
Well, they're an outstanding group of kids. They came in with a lot of athletes. There's not a lot of linemen in the class, but a lot of skill kids. And so, for example, our offensive line starts 2 sophomores and 3 juniors, and doesn't have a senior in it. Tanner Jacobs being the one starting lineman that is a senior, and he's our nose guard. He did start on offense last year for us. So they had the skill kids. We had to wait to put some classes behind them that were going to have the linemen. They were undefeated as freshmen, so we knew obviously it was still going to be a really good group, and they've lived up to expectations. For example, you're getting ready to you can play 56 games in your high school career, and Ryan Shepard's getting ready to play in his 54th one. So
Wow. That's incredible. The run you guys are on and the success that group has had. I'm really intrigued, Coach, by this matchup coming up this weekend. A contrast of two very high-powered offenses that do things very differently, very unique ways. Over 5,000 yards of total offense with very different ways of getting to it. Wilmington's thrown 5 passes all year, and Ryan Shepard is a 3,000-yard passer. So, both you guys put up a ton of points. What are your keys on defense to stop this Wildcat rushing attack? You've talked about kind of the emphasis you had a few weeks ago. What have you looked at, or what are you going to talk about this week?
Well, they're just so physical and so sound in what they do up front. Their kids all get off the ball. They all pull well. They're just phenomenal in what they do. And a lot of these kids, were playing the last time, Catman and 59 were two of their best players when we played them when they were sophomores and, just now seniors, and certainly have gotten better since then. So they offer so many challenges there, and it's different challenges than what we present. For them, they're going to have to get lined up and see different formations and defend different people. For us, it's going to be, we're going to see the same thing over and over and over again. And if we're not physically tough, that we'll see the same play, the same kid with the ball all day long. And they're just so good at what they do and so physical. And yeah, still putting up points. I don't know how many 1 and 2 play drives I'm seeing out of them, which we don't even do. So,
Well, talking about your offense, you guys put up a ton of points. What have you seen this year from all your skill players and really this offense as a whole? And what can you try and do against a Wilmington team that hasn't allowed many teams to do that against them?
no, I mean, they, on top of all of that, they don't give up any points either. So they're super physical up front. They play an odd front, and you're going to have guys that are putting pressure on the passer for us. They're going to be coming after it. They play a lot of man. I know they call it cover 4, but I mean, I feel like they're in man in a lot of positions. And again, going to bring heat against your passer. Because they cover up in the odd front, they cover up a lot of your alignment. It makes it more difficult to pull. They just do everything the right way. The staff's been together a long time. This is not their first go around at a state championship game. Not sure where their numbers stack up as far as our kids in the senior class, but it's got to be very close. I know that I think they lost in the quarters last year, but so we might be one game in front of them. They're just very good, and they're really good at everything they do. We're going to have to value the ball. One thing I didn't think we did a great job the last time we played them. We turned the ball over 5 times, and you're not going to get that chance against this team. So if we turn the ball over 5 times, I promise we will lose this game. So,
well, try not to do that. That's the goal, right?
well, I mean, knock on wood, but
Yeah.
we have 5 turnovers on the season, so
Yeah.
that just has to continue with that trend, and I think we're 24-5 right now on turnovers. We've caused 24, and we put 5 on the ground. We need that trend to continue.
Yeah. Coach, talking about your offense, we in another coaching conversation, we talked to Wilmington's head coach, and he referenced that, and I believe it was at the Brown County coach as well in 1A, also referenced that, at the small school side of things, they've found that year in and year out, you may not have the quarterback to throw it all around. So most of the time, those offenses are staying with that run base, that power offense. What do you see in Maroa-Forsyth? Because for the most part, you are throwing the ball. I mean, obviously this year with Ryan Shepard leading the way, but over the course of your career, what have you seen that you feel like you can spread teams out and throw the ball around a little bit?
We identify our quarterbacks at an early age and start getting them put to work so that we don't have the excuse that we don't have quarterbacks that are able to do what we want. By the fifth grade, our kids are installing and running our screen game, just like these teams are installing and running their power or counter or whatever it is they're going to hang their hat on. We are doing the same thing. We are just identifying that kid needs to be the first kid that's picked at any recess game that you have. And then we're going to train him into being a passer and an athlete for us. And it has worked well for us over the years because we are traditionally not going to be bigger and stronger than anybody we play. We've had a few big linemen over the years, but if you watch us, we typically are going to average about 200 pounds up front with kids that'll be relentless and hard-nosed, but definitely not going to be bigger and stronger. I mean, our kids live in the weight room, so we're going to maximize that. We're going to maximize their ability to be able to run. But we just don't have a lot of kids that are going to walk through our hallways and be 6'5" and 260 pounds. And we feel like we are able to maximize the talent at our school district by getting our athletes out for football. And our athletes want to catch the ball and run in space. But would they be fine if they grew up and went to Wilmington and Zach Smith becomes a wingback? I'm sure they would love to see what he looked like, in their offense also. It's just different than what we do, but I think that the key is having your identity and sticking with it. Now, has that wing T, double wing offenses been really successful at small level football? It absolutely has over the years. And they don't have to worry about things like I do. Wind and field conditions and, some of those things do greatly affect us.
Coach, I had this question dialed up, and I wasn't able to listen to your media call because we were talking to the 1A coaches, but want to know which Jordans you're going to be wearing on the sidelines on Friday morning.
Blueberry 12s. So
All right.
just released this year, but it is hard to get. Not all Jordans are released in blue and gold colors. So
there you go. Awesome. Well, that kind of segues into, we asked you a little bit about it last year, but are you kind of a uniform guy or into the look of, how you guys present yourself on the field? Because you guys present a lot of different uniform options, and we appreciate that. It's fun.
We do. Our kids are super spoiled. There's no doubt about that. It is ridiculous. And then because we play, our home games are on turf, our uniforms do last, a long time, especially our home uniforms. Our white uniforms can get beat up. But about half the team in our league now has turf. So even on the road, they're holding up longer and longer. So it's not like we get new uniforms every year, but when we do, it's not like we're getting rid of our old uniforms. So that gives you, we could honestly wear a different uniform all 14 weeks of the season. And so that's pretty ridiculous. Kids are into that kind of stuff for sure. So
yeah. Hey, well, you're into the Jordans. You got the look, you understand it. So
I get it.
Yeah. Awesome. Coach, I want to bring up, being there last year, and you talked about circling back before we wrap it up, knowing that you weren't fully healthy and knowing that things just didn't work that day, not just in a loss, but knowing that you weren't 100% that day at state, how motivating was that this year? I mean, immediately, going into that offseason, knowing that we got another shot at this and we can go at it, and be 100% and have a shot.
It definitely takes some luck to win a state championship. We've been fortunate enough to win a couple, and it takes some luck. You've got to stay healthy. The ball's got to bounce your way. Sometimes it's weather conditions. In 2006, when we won our first state championship, I was in short sleeves. I mean, sometimes it just goes your way. And we had Luke Hockaday that was going to throw it all over the yard to Robo Krups, and it was a great day to be able to do that. So it doesn't always happen that way, and So it does take some luck, I guess, is the moral of the story. But what you can't control luck. But what we can control is, a week after I just sent our parents, the end of the year recap stuff that they need this week, and the weight room opens back up December 8th, and we'll be back at it again already. Our kids take a week off, get their equipment turned in, have exit meetings with me, and then we're back in. And I'll honestly be kicking kids out when I'm leaving that, even the week that I'm doing exit meetings. It's like, no, go home. Now you get 2 weeks off a year. Take advantage of one of these, and that won't change due to our culture and our kids and our families' expectations here. And that's why we're able to dial it back up and say we're going to get another crack at this.
Yeah, I'm excited for you guys because I, walking the sidelines, talking to your team last year, it just felt like you were robbed a little bit of that opportunity to really get out and show your stuff. So I'm glad you guys are back, and I'm glad you get a shot at it against a good Wilmington team. But it should be a fun matchup. So appreciate you taking time this week, and we'll see you on the sidelines down there in Normal.
Thank you, appreciate it, guys.
Thanks, Coach.
My man knows his way around an interview exit.
I felt bad I pitched to you, and then I was like, I kind of want to ask him about getting back there because that team was, they weren't at 100%. So I wanted to ask him back. So I'll make an edit there kind of so it doesn't seem so clunky. But
okay, I need 20 minutes to get questions